Want to know why? Ask how. Howard! We tried it this way a few seconds ago. It's terrible. The humongous! Okay, I sound like a crazy man. Here's the deal. H.G. Wells wrote a book, The War of the Worlds, and in it, a strange and alien species whose minds we can't even read comes to Earth and wants to exterminate us the way we would exterminate termites and ants. Does that have anything in common with ISIS? Is there any reason that regarding the Islamic State as a kind of strange and alien entity makes any sense? Yes, because ISIS does not think the way that you and I do. ISIS thinks in a belief system we would find utterly insane. And the result is, because that belief system is utterly and completely sane to them, everything that you and I think is utterly insane. And because everything we think is utterly insane, everything we think is a crime. Everything we think is a deviation. Everything we think is a rebellion against Allah, God Himself. It's a rebellion against human nature. And because we are so deviant and perverse and sinful in sinning against the obvious truth of Islam, we deserve to either be exterminated or subjugated as a second-class species, what in Islam is called dhimmi, people who skulk about, live in perpetual humiliation, and pay a special tribute, a special tax, in order to demonstrate that they are utterly and completely subservient to the Muslims. There's a passage in the 12th issue of ISIS magazine, Dabiq, that gets across the peculiarity of the kind of worldview that we are up against. It is not a worldview Hillary Clinton understands. It is not a worldview Bernie Sanders understands. It is not a worldview Donald Trump cares about understanding, because Donald Trump does not think that understanding is relevant to being a president of the United States. Here's the quote. The kuffar, that's the unbelievers, that's you, that's me, whether they are Catholic, Protestant, or Orthodox Christians, whether they are Orthodox, conservative, or progressive Jews, whether they are Buddhists, Hindus, or Sikhs, whether they are capitalists, communists, or fascists, they are ultimately allies of one another against Islam and the Muslims. Now, this isn't for the reasons you'd think. It's not because of Western imperialism. It's not because of the sins of Western society. It's because of something even more profound. And here's the quote again. This is because Islam, the religion of truth and fitra, is the greatest threat to their religions of falsehood, all of which are at war with the inborn nature of man. What does that mean? In the worldview of the ISIS folks, we are all born with a sense of God. That is fitra. We are all born with a sense of obedience to God. We are all born knowing the rules that His only true prophet, Muhammad, has explicated for us. We are born with that deep obedience to the Muslim God. We are born as Muslims, every single one of us. And then our parents take us to religions that are utter criminal assaults on the truth of Allah, the truth, the obvious truth, the truth we are born with, the truth that is born into our human nature, of Islam itself, including every bit of Sharia law, including every bit of the Quran. Let me give you that quote again. We are all allies in a battle against Islam. Any of us who believe in Darwinism, any of us who believe in secularism, any of us who believe in anything that isn't their form of Islam, we are all naturally allied with each other in a war against Islam. Why? Because Islam is the religion of truth and fitra, that inborn obedience to God, following exactly the laws that are in the Quran and the holy books of Islam. The religion of truth and fitra is the greatest, that is Islam, is the greatest threat to our religions of falsehood. All of them, all of our religions, all of our belief systems are falsehoods unless we are obedient Muslims. I'll give it to you again. The religion of truth, because Islam, the religion of truth and fitra, is the greatest threat to their religions, that's your religions, that's my religions, of falsehood, all of which are at war with the inborn nature of man, that inborn set of books of the Sharia that is born inside of us. Back to the quote. This is also because the Tawagit and the Dajajaliya of these false religions fear losing control of their flocks, our leaders, who are all rebels against the clear and obvious truth of Allah himself, of God himself, rebels against Islam, thus perpetually sinful. They are also false prophets, pictures of evil, the equivalents of Satan, misleading us. So they are saying all of the leaders of our false religions, these false religions, fear losing control of their flocks of blind sheep and the wealth contained in their woolly pockets. Boy, there's one that Noam Chomsky would be tempted to agree with. This is also, in other words, the reason that we are all naturally allied in a war against Islam is because the flocks of blind sheep fear losing their animalistic societies and carnal cultures that serve their lusts, desires, and doubts at the expense of reviving and nurturing the fitra within their dead hearts. This is powerful language. What does it say? It says that the culture that you and I believe in, Western culture, complete with democracy and freedom, things that you see Muslim demonstrators mocking with signs, saying freedom is false, democracy is false, in the streets of London. All of this makes our society, the very things we believe in, human rights is one of the primary examples, which they call a false religion, is the sign of an animalistic society and a carnal culture that serves lusts, desires, and doubts, and keeps us away from what? That natural, inborn human nature that comes into this world with us when we are babies, that makes us obedient servants to Allah, following the laws of Sharia, following everything that Muhammad said we should do. That is what we're born with. And because we have rebelled from that, we are evil. We are foul. We are like the creatures, the ants and the cockroaches that the Martians wanted to exterminate. This is not a belief system that any of our political candidates are dealing with. It is not one they understand. It is not one they feel obliged to understand. In fact, they are so narrow-minded they can't even believe that such an entirely alien system of thought exists. And yet it does, and yet it wants you dead or subjugated in perpetual humiliation. And it wants the same from me. This is Howard the Among Us, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to defend and to make. Or, want to know why? Ask how. And now, for that ridiculous little off button, I've got it.